Thank you for joining us on this episode of KTN Mid Morning. My name is Kwe. Although not everyone can cook and come up with delicious meals instantly, it is undeniable that cooking is one of the basic skills an individual requires to survive in the world. It's relatively easy to cook a simple meal. It may not taste that great at first, but if you have the time and the interest, I'm sure with a little effort you would be able to cook wonderful, appetizing meals in no time. Now, chapati is a dish that many people fear to attempt making because they think it's difficult to prepare. However, Sarah Ndirango makes it look so easy in our mid-morning lifestyle feature that's coming up next.
My name is Sarah Ndirango, and today I'm going to show you how to make chapatis. And these are the ingredients that we'll need. First and foremost, we need the flour. Then we need some cooking oil. We need some sugar, some salt, some water for mixing, and of course our rolling pin and a frying pan and fire. So let's begin. The first step is pouring the flour into a bowl. Today we are going to be cooking for 4 or 5 people, so I'll cook about 5 to 7 chapatis. And I sift the flour a bit to aerate it. And then I add a big pinch of salt and another one. I mix them up again so the salt can go everywhere. And when I do my chapatis, I like adding a bit of sugar because it brings out the sweetness in the chapati. So you can add 2 pinches of sugar, not a lot. Someone should just taste the sugar but not exactly feel it. It should just be a little bit. Mix it up until the sugar and the salt is well mixed in. And then now we'll take the water. I usually use cold water because when you use warm water, it starts cooking the flour and it makes it harder to work with. It shouldn't be too dry, neither should it be too wet. Mix it all up. Consistency is fine, so now I'll add some more flour to make it more firm as we go. Just add a little by little and start kneading firmly. When the flour is incorporated, add some more, taking care not to add too much at a go. Continue kneading. Now this is just the first process of kneading. Now we get a clean wet cloth and wipe our surface. We need a bit of room so that we can knead properly. Then take some flour and dust the surface so that our dough does not stick, and pour it out here. So use the palm of your hand, push it forward and continue kneading. You should knead it until it has a firm consistency. It shouldn't be sticky. neither should it be too hard. Now our dough is ready now. So you take your rolling pin and we start rolling it out. We want to roll it out until it gets thinner and thinner. If you need more flour, dust the surface so that it doesn't stick. Keep rolling and turning so that it gets wider and wider. At this point, I'm going to add some oil onto our dough. Just take some oil. You can use liquid oil or solid oil, whatever you prefer. And also, if you do not need to use any oil, you can skip this stage, it's okay. After that, now we need to roll the dough towards us. Straighten it out. And then now we are going to cut our individual pieces. As I said, we are going to cook for 5 to 7 people. So we'll cut our dough has come to 6 pieces. After cutting our dough into little pieces, now we need to light the fire so that our frying pan can get warm as we move on to the next stage. As our pan is getting hot, we take an individual piece of dough, flatten it out between your hands, then we dust it. Begin to roll it out. Continue dusting so that it doesn't stick to the surface. Spread it out until it's not too thin, neither is it too thick. To your desired thickness. Now our first piece is ready to go to the pan. And we'll just transfer it with our hand onto the frying pan. Just lay it across. As the first piece is cooking, we go on with our second piece, repeat the process again. Keep a watchful eye on the fire so that it doesn't burn. So now we can check on our first piece, see how it's cooking. You can just turn it. can add some oil on the upper side as the lower side cooks. Give the underside a few seconds. Keep adjusting the fire so that it's not too hot. Turn it over again. Give it a few seconds. Then we can plate it now. After doing that, I'll take my second piece and repeat the process once again. Give it a few seconds again. To preserve the warmness of the chapatis, we can flip them around so that the heat goes through all of them. Then we turn off our fire. And there we go. Our chapatis are ready now. And as you can see, they are looking nice and good and warm and inviting. You can have them with your stews, your meat stews, your vegetable stews, or with tea. And we should taste one and see how it did. Just put it on a plate and cut it up. It's very soft, as you can see. It's very tasty. I hope that now you can make your own chapatis at home and enjoy them. But for me, it's goodbye. Thank you.
Men and women have different physiological and psychological responses to conflict. Many times, those differences make cross-gender communication difficult. Women often don't understand what men are saying and think they're being insensitive. Men, on the other hand, don't often understand what women are saying and think they're too emotional. Men and women have very different ways of arguing. So, in a better effort to help couples understand each other, Victor and Kabutha take us through the thought process of both genders during an argument. That's coming up next on Ties That Bind.
We'd like to thank you viewers for sending in your questions for us, and we'd like to handle one of the questions here from a husband who says, when we are having a disagreement, I like to have some space to process, but my wife wants to talk right then and there, which often causes more conflict. How can we resolve this?
With this question, the way that it's phrased, and it's about the temperaments. You know, some of us are extroverted. It's like we talk and then we think about what came out later. And then there are those who like to think through what they're going to say because they choose their words very carefully. And so I think it's important to understand that we have different makeups. Again, men and women already, that's a difference, just being male and female. But the second difference is that some of us under pressure, we will withdraw. because we're analyzing what happened and what can I do differently. But others, when the same pressure is applied on them, they explode, they come out fighting. And the idea here that one wants to resolve it and talk right there and there. The other one actually wants, the other spouse wants to actually take time and ask the question. Sometimes it's asking questions about what went wrong, but it also could be taking time for the temperature to calm down. And so I don't think it's something where we should do the whole thing of, take off the gloves and pick up a stool and throw something, because then that doesn't also help the temperatures calm down. I think it helps to take space sometimes in a conflict to process what has happened. And it takes patience then for the one who's very extroverted to take a minute and think through. I think there are those who they want to say everything while it's fresh in their minds, and the opposite one to take time and make things right.
I think I can answer this from personal experience because we can relate. We operate the same way.
Yeah.
I want to talk right now and resolve it now so we can move on. And Victor tends to want to have some space to go and process.
Yeah.
And I think we've learned over the years, I can say for me, I have learned that there is a value in having some time, not indefinite amount of time for weeks and months, but some time to go and think about it. Because I think that I know what I want to say, but then actually when I give him some space and I also start thinking about it, I realize probably, okay, I think maybe I'm not I have some fault of my own. And when we come back together, I'm a little bit more humble maybe and able to think more clearly. And I've also learned that when I give my husband the space he needs, he is generally the one who will come back and be the one to say, okay, now we can talk. Probably he'll even say, I want to apologize for this and that, what happened, and we can be able to resolve it much easier. So I would say, take time to learn each other's personalities. Are you one who talks before you think, or are you one who takes time to process and learn to appreciate both? One of the reasons that I think we've been able to work better over the years is because we both have given. I've learned to give him the space, but I think he's also learned sometimes that we stay and talk it out. And so it's important to not just be so defensive all the time, but try to see it from the other person's perspective. Try to see the value in how the other person is doing something. And I guarantee you become a better person yourself when you learn. That's one of the reasons why it works when you don't have to marry somebody who is the same personality. It can be a conflict when you're different personalities, but it can also be a great complement to each other. And I think it's a mechanism that God instilled in us to help us learn a different way. Victor is very strong. He can be very outspoken, and I can be very, I love to keep the peace. I don't like conflict. And again, we've learned over the years that I have learned to become more firm when I need to. I don't allow people to step all over me all the time. But also, Victor, I've seen him many times now be softer, and more calm in the way that he deals with people. And it's not necessarily something we did consciously, said, I'm going to become more firm. But we have influenced each other, I think, in a positive way by understanding the differences.
For a start, you don't need to be able to cook complex and impressive dishes that take up a lot of preparation time. All you need to start is simple steps with easy dishes. Now, you might not get it right the first time round, but with practice and determination, I'm sure you'll get it in no time. Now, let me know if you succeed in making chapos after that lesson from Sarah. Keep me updated on mid-morning at startupmedia.co.ke. That's it for today. We have more for you tomorrow, so be sure to join us.